In the 1950s, the American dream script was simple. The husband went to work, earned the paycheck, and firmly believed he was the undisputed king of the castle. But if that house had German or European roots, there was a completely different script running quietly in the background. Because when you combine old-world German discipline with the rugged American pioneer spirit, you don't get a victim of a bad economy. You get a financial mastermind in an apron. While the men thought they were the CEOs of the household, their wives were running a classified, off-the-grid financial syndicate right from the kitchen table. Today, we use budgeting apps that crash and track our spending on spreadsheets. Our grandmothers, they didn't have apps. They had secrets. They used empty coffee tins, a pair of scissors, and the tactical advantage that their husbands were simply too distracted to look behind the flour canister. Hit subscribe, because today we're exposing the 15 secret money tricks these women hid from their husbands. Number 1 on this list is so sneaky. Your grandfather probably fell for it for 40 years without ever realizing he was being managed. Let's get into it. Number 15, the coffee can vault. This was the original offshore bank account. Every week, $1 or $2 mysteriously evaporated from the grocery money and went straight into a coffee tin hidden behind the flour. Why behind the flour? Because baking was women's work. A 1950s husband would rather eat his own tie than touch a bag of flour. It was untrackable, tax-free cash. When the union went on strike or the car died, the coffee can miraculously saved the day. The husband? He just thought he was the luckiest guy in town. Number 14, the grocery skim. Let's call this what it was, domestic embezzlement, but for the greater good. The husband handed over $22 for the week. The wife planned the meals to cost exactly $20. She bought day-old bread, traded steak for chuck roast, and quietly pocketed the difference. The family was full, the husband was happy, and he had zero idea his wife was paying herself a tax-free salary for a job the American economy refused to recognize. Number 13, egg money. If your grandmother kept chickens, she had a financial empire. Tradition dictated that egg money belonged exclusively to the wife. Husbands thought chickens were just a cute hobby, and that male arrogance was the wife's absolute biggest asset. She sold the surplus eggs to neighbors for pure, untaxed cash. It was the original side hustle, decades before the internet. She was basically the CEO of a poultry-based venture capital firm, and her husband thought she was just playing with the birds. Number 12, the grease tin. If you buy organic cooking oil for $12 a bottle today, your German grandmother is currently rolling in her grave. Next to her stove sat a tin. Every strip of bacon or pork chop fat went in there. They called it schmaltz. It fried the eggs, it seasoned the beans, it made the cornbread taste like heaven. The husband loved his rich breakfast, completely oblivious to the fact that his wife had made buying cooking oil obsolete. She turned waste into breakfast, while modern society pays retail for avocado oil. Who's the genius now? Number 11, the button jar. Before a frayed shirt hit the rag pile, it was stripped for parts. Every button was harvested and dropped into a mason jar. To a modern shopper, a jar of old buttons looks like you're starring in an episode of Hoarders. To an old-world grandmother, it was an AutoZone for clothing. If a button popped off her husband's work shirt, she didn't throw it away. She mended without buying and replaced without asking. She didn't have clutter, she had an inventory of spare parts. Number 10, the bread bag drawer. Today, we throw away a sandwich bag after one use. Your grandmother would have viewed that as a crime against the household budget. Every bag that bread came in was washed, dried, and folded into a specific kitchen drawer. They became freezer wrap, boot liners for the snow, and garden ties. A wife with a dedicated bread bag drawer could go a full decade without spending a single dime on Ziploc bags. She wasn't hoarding plastic. She was running a closed-loop supply chain. Number 9. The turned collar. This was a magic trick that fooled millions of American men. When a husband's shirt collar frayed, the wife didn't go to the department store. She unpicked the stitching, flipped the collar to the pristine underside, and sewed it right back on. From across the dinner table, the shirt looked brand new. He thought she had bought him a fresh shirt. In reality, she had just bought him 6 more months of wear, and she did it while he was at work. Number 8. the flour sack dress. During hard times, companies sold flour in large cotton sacks. Frugal housewives realized they were basically getting free fabric with every purchase, so they washed out the ink and made clothes. Eventually, flour companies realized what was happening and started printing floral patterns on them on purpose. A wife bought flour to feed the family and got a yard of dress fabric as a bonus. The husband saw his daughter in a pretty new dress and assumed his paycheck paid for it.
Technically it did, but the fabric was a freebie.
Number 7. The letdown hem. Kids grow fast, and clothes were expensive. So, German mothers utilized the letdown hem. They always sewed trousers and dresses with 2 to 3 inches of extra fabric folded up inside. When the kid hit a growth spurt, she just snipped the thread, let the hem down, and ironed it flat. That one trick meant a child could wear the exact same clothes for 3 years straight. Sears Roebuck hated her. Her budget loved her. Number 6. The kitchen haircut. Taking 3 boys to the barber every month was a massive drain on the household economy. So, the wife bought 1 pair of manual hair clippers. Were those first few haircuts slightly artistic? Yes. Did the boys look like they'd lost a fight with a lawnmower? Maybe. But those clippers paid for themselves in 3 weeks and lasted for 40 years. The husband was spared the barber bill, and the wife pocketed the cash. Number 5. Pin money. Sidelines. Pin money was untaxed side cash. Maybe she baked a few extra pies for the local diner. Maybe she took in mending for the bachelor down the street. It was all done in cash, totally off the books. The husband saw her pulling a pie out of the oven and just assumed she was being a dutiful homemaker. Meanwhile, she was running an underground, untaxed bakery. That money paid for Christmas presents without her ever having to ask for his permission. Number 4. The neighborhood barter. While the men were stressing over the stock market, the housewives were running a shadow economy that the IRS couldn't even see, let alone touch. She gave the neighbor 2 jars of sauerkraut. The neighbor gave her an afternoon of free babysitting. It wasn't charity, it was a highly organized barter system. They basically invented a local currency denominated entirely in cabbage, jars, and favors. Number 3. The Tuesday grocery circuit. Today, we pay an app a $15 fee for the convenience of delivery. Your grandmother treated shopping like a tactical raid. She didn't go to one mega store. She hit the butcher for the meat special, the bakery at 4 p.m. for half-price day-old bread, and the grocer for the bruised apples. A Tuesday circuit saved 20% on the weekly bill. Her husband saw a full bag and assumed she went to the supermarket. He didn't see a woman who had just slashed her overhead like a Wall Street hedge fund manager. Number 2. Cash on the barrel. If you wanted to see a German grandmother lose her mind, just mention an installment plan. Schulden, the German word for debt, literally comes from the word for guilt. If the family needed a new icebox, they saved for 2 years before walking into the store to pay cash and demand a discount. She was a ruthless negotiator who absolutely refused to pay a bank a single cent in interest. If she couldn't buy it in cash, it didn't come into her house. Number 1. The quiet veto. This was the ultimate psychological power move. If the husband wanted to blow money on a brand new car, the wife didn't argue. She nodded, served the roast, and casually mentioned at breakfast that the furnace sounded like it was dying and the roof might be leaking. The car idea miraculously vanished. She didn't say no, she just redirected his ego toward a domestic crisis that made the car seem like a terrible idea. She didn't manage the money, she managed him. These tricks weren't about deception, they were about sovereignty. There is a famous true story of a steelworker's wife who skimmed just a few dollars a week into her coffee tin starting in 1953. When her husband finally passed away 4 decades later, she walked into a bank, opened an account in her own name, and deposited the contents of her hidden jars. The teller counted out over $31,000 in cash. Her husband never knew it was there, but he had been kept fed, clothed, and out of debt by a woman who ran his household like a Fortune 500 company. We lost this wisdom when we decided that modern convenience was better than independence. So, which of these old-world tricks is your favorite? Do you have a coffee can of your own? Tell me in the comments below. Hit subscribe, stay sovereign, and I'll see you in the next one.